Chapter 9. The Flow of Food. Service. So by now you already know what we're up against. It's basically time temperature controls or cross-contamination. Same concerns are applicable in the service area. Let's look at time temperature controls. Hot food, 135 or higher. Cold food, 41 or lower during holding. And make sure we're checking temperatures every 4 hours. If you check them every 2 hours or before 2 hours, you leave time for corrective action to either cool that food down or to warm that food up. Use a thermometer to check the food's internal temperature. Never use the temperature gauge on a holding unit. Those gauges do not tell the internal temperature of the food. When you are taking cold food that's previously held at 41 degrees or lower and you want to get it on the hot line and get it to 135 or higher, you may be tempted to use the hot holding equipment to warm the food up. But most of those types of equipment do not heat the food up fast enough or get it through the temperature danger zone quickly enough. So you must properly heat the food up on a stove and then move the food to the hot holding unit. So you should create policies on how to reheat food, how to hold food that is intended for hot holding. Holding food without temperature control. If your operation displays or holds TCS food without temperature control, it must do so under certain conditions. The conditions for holding cold food are different from those for holding hot food. Before using time as a method of control, check with your local regulatory authority for specific requirements. For cold food, label the food with the time you removed it from refrigeration and the time you must throw it out. The discard time on the label must be 6 hours from the time you remove the food from refrigeration. We know that cold food must be held at 41 or lower. During this display, the food cannot exceed 70 degrees. If it does, it must be thrown out. It must have that label specifying when it was taken out of temperature control and when it is going to be thrown out. And the food must be used within 6 hours or discarded within 6 hours. Hot food can be held without temperature control for up to 4 hours. Before using time as a method of control, check with your local regulatory authority for specific requirements. Hot food discard times must be on the label. Carry glasses in a rack to avoid touching the food contact surfaces. Do not stack glasses when carrying them. Hold dishes from the bottom or edge. Hold glasses by the middle, bottom, or stem. Do not touch food contact areas of dishes or glassware. Prevent contamination while serving food, using tongs and deli sheets and spatulas. Wearing single-use gloves after properly washing your hands to minimize contact with ready-to-eat foods. Use clean and sanitized utensils for serving. Use a separate utensil for each type of food. Clean and sanitize utensils after each task. At a minimum, clean and sanitize them at least once every 4 hours. Store serving utensils correctly between uses. On a clean and sanitized food contact surface. In the food when the handle extends above the container rim. If you preset your tableware, prevent it from being contaminated. Wrap or cover the items. Table settings do not need to be wrapped or covered if extra settings are removed when guests are seated, are clean and sanitized after guests have left. Refilling returnable take-home containers for food. Some jurisdictions allow the refilling of take-home food containers. Take-home food containers must be designed to be reused and clean and sanitized correctly. Take-home beverage containers can be refilled as long as the beverage is not a TCS food, and the container will be refilled for the same customer. The container must also meet these requirements. It is able to be effectively cleaned at home and at the operation. It is rinsed with fresh, pressurized hot water before refilling. It is refilled with a process that prevents contamination. Reserving food safely. You must protect food and food condiments from contamination. Serve them in their original containers or in containers designed to prevent contamination. Offering condiments in individual packages or portions can also help keep them safe. Never reserve uncovered condiments. Do not combine leftover condiments with fresh ones. Throw away open portions or dishes of condiments after serving them to customers. Change linens used in bread baskets after each customer. You may reserve bottles of ketchup, mustard, and other condiments. The containers must remain closed between uses. Food safety in self-service areas. To prevent contamination, use sneeze guards. Sneeze guards protect the food from both customers and workers. They must be located 14 inches above the counter and extend 7 inches beyond the food. On the self-service areas, make sure you label all foods. Place salad dress names on the ladle handles. Food can also be protected by packaging it in a way that protects it from contamination. Whole, raw fruits and vegetables and nuts in the shell that require peeling or husking before eating do not require the same protection matters. Typically, raw, unpackaged meat, poultry, and seafood cannot be offered for self-service. However, the following items are exceptions to the rule. Ready-to-eat food at buffets or salad bars that serve food such as sushi or raw shellfish. Ready-to-cook portions that will be cooked and eaten immediately on the premises, such as a Mongolian barbecue. Raw, frozen, or shell-on shrimp or lobster. Assign a staff member to monitor guests. Post signs reminding customers do not reuse plates and utensils. Stock food displays with correct utensils for dispensing food. This might include tongs, ladles, or deli sheets. Off-site service. When delivering food off-site, check internal food temperatures. If containers or delivery vehicles are not hot holding at the correct temperature, reevaluate the length of the delivery route for the efficiency of the equipment being used. Use insulated food-grade containers designed to stop food from mixing, leaking, or spilling. Clean the inside of delivery vehicles regularly. Check the internal temperatures of food. Label food with use-by date and times and reheating instructions. Store raw meat, poultry, and seafood and ready-to-eat food items separately. Off-site service. Just because you don't have a brick-and-mortar building, caterers must follow the same food safety rules as permanent operations. Food must be protected from contamination and time temperature abuse. Make sure the service site has the correct utilities, safe water for cooking, dishwashing, and hand washing, garbage containers stored away from food prep, storage, and service areas. Use insulated containers to hold TCS foods. Store ready-to-eat foods separately from raw food. Provide customers with directions for handling leftovers. Vending machines. Handle food prepped and packaged for vending machines with the same care as any other food served to customers. Vending operators should protect food from contamination and time temperature abuse during transport, delivery, and service. Check product shelf life daily. Products often have a code date, such as an expiration or use by date. If the date has expired, throw out the food immediately. Throw out refrigerated food prepped on site if it is not sold within 7 days of preparation. Keep TCS food at the correct temperature. If it is a cold food, keep it at 41 or lower. If it is a hot food, keep it at 135 or higher. These machines must have temperature controls to keep the TCS food from going through the temperature danger zone. Make sure that you dispense TCS food in its original container. Wash and wrap fruits with edible peels before putting them in the machine.